Hello children, welcome to my channel Learn with Love. Today we are going to learn finite and non-finite verbs. But to learn this, you must be thorough with what verbs are and also with subject-verb agreement. I have explained these topics in my previous video. If you haven't watched it or if you need a quick revision, I have left the link in the description below. Do watch it and then come back to this lesson to understand better. Now, we all know that verbs are action words and that they are divided into main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Verbs are also divided into regular verbs and irregular verbs. We learned these in our previous classes. Apart from these, verbs are also divided into finite and non-finite verbs based on their function in a sentence. You see, as we learnt earlier, verbs are the most important of the 8 parts of speech because a sentence is never complete without a verb. It changes its form to show tense and to agree with the subject. It always appears after the subject, that is after a noun or a pronoun in a sentence. But some verbs do not do that. They don't show tense, they don't agree with the subject, and they don't appear after the subject in a sentence. In all, they are action words, but they don't act like a verb in a sentence. Sometimes they even act like a noun or an adjective or even as an adverb. So these verbs that do not follow the rules are called non-finite verbs. And the verbs that follow the rules properly are called finite verbs. That is why finite verbs are also called as proper verbs because they follow the rules. And non-finite verbs are called improper verbs because they don't follow the rules. And in this class, we are going to discuss this in detail. Come, let's learn finite and non-finite verbs with love. Rule 1. A verb should always agree with the subject. The verb changes its form to agree with the subject. If the subject is third person singular, that is he, she, it or a name, then the verb takes an yes after it. But children, only a finite verb changes its form to agree with the subject. A non-finite verb does not care about the subject. It never changes its form. Look at the following example. Play. Play is an action word, so it is a verb. But the same verb can function both as a finite verb and as a non-finite verb in a sentence. How? Look at the first sentence. I play very well. The verb in this sentence is play. And the subject in this sentence is I. Do you remember what a subject is? A subject is something or someone who does the action in a sentence. A subject may also be something or someone that is described in a sentence. Now look at this sentence, I play very well. Who is doing the action of playing? It is I. So that is the subject. Now I told you that a subject and a verb should agree. And a verb should change its form according to the subject to agree with it. Now, I am going to change the subject I to my friend in the second sentence. My friend plays very well too. Now, if you look at the subject my friend in this sentence, it is third person singular. And so, the verb play takes an S after it to agree with the subject. So, when a verb changes its form to agree with the subject, then it is a finite verb. But look at this sentence, I like to play. So I have used the same verb play in this sentence also. And again, as I did earlier, I am going to change the subject I. My friend likes to play. Notice here that even though I had changed the subject from I to my friend, the verb play doesn't change. Verbs which do not change its form to agree with the subject are non-finite verbs. And so, in these sentences, the verb play acts as non-finite verbs because even though we change the subject, it does not change its form. Children, you should remember that whenever the base form of a verb follows the word to, like to play, to walk, to sing, then it would most probably be a non-finite verb only. Rule 2. A proper verb or a finite verb would change its form to show tense. Let me explain this with some examples. Sleep. Sleep is a verb. Look at the first sentence, I slept well yesterday. The verb sleep has changed its form to slept to show that this sentence is in the simple past. In the second sentence, the verb sleep has changed its form to sleeping and has taken the helping verb was before it to show that the action was going on in the past. I was sleeping when you called me. Past continuous. Look at the third sentence. I will sleep peacefully today. The verb sleep takes the help of the auxiliary verb will to show that the action will happen in the future. In these three sentences, notice that the verb sleep changes its form to slept, was sleeping and will sleep to show the tense. And so these are finite verbs. But look at the verb sleep in this sentence. I thought sleeping is a waste of time. This sentence is in the past tense. But only the verb think has changed its form to show that this sentence is in the past tense. Think has changed to thought. But the verb sleeping doesn't show the tense in the sentence. So it is a non-finite verb. Let me explain this to you with one more example. Look at this sentence. I think sleeping is a waste of time. Again, we understand that this sentence is in the simple present with the help of the verb think, which I have highlighted here in red. But the verb sleeping does not show the tense in this sentence also. Now look at the last example. I will not think that sleeping is a waste of time hereafter. This sentence is in the simple future. How did we find out? With the help of the verbs will not think. Right? So even in this sentence, the verb sleeping does not change its form to show tense. Now, take a look at only the last three sentences again. I thought sleeping is a waste of time. I think sleeping is a waste of time. I will not think that sleeping is a waste of time hereafter. These three sentences are in three different tenses. Simple past, simple present and simple future. But the verb sleeping remains in the same form in all these three sentences. It has not changed to show the tense in the sentence. So verbs like these, we can say lazy verbs like this, which does not change its form to show the tense in a sentence, are called non-finite verbs or improper verbs. I think you must have understood, but if not, if you haven't, kindly give it another chance. Please rewind the video and watch it again because this is a very important topic. Rule number 3. A finite verb always appears after a subject in a sentence. And the subject of a sentence will only be a noun or a pronoun. This is one important point you must not forget. It will be useful later on. The subject of a sentence would only be a noun or a pronoun, and a finite verb would appear only after a subject in a sentence. What is a subject? A subject is someone or something that does the action in a sentence, or it is someone or something that is described in a sentence. Look at the first sentence. She lent me some of her books. What is the verb in this sentence? Lent. And this verb lent appears right after the subject she. So this is a finite verb. I painted our fence white. The verb in the sentence is painted and it appears right after the subject I. So it is a finite verb. The tourists walked for 3 hours. In this sentence also, the verb walked appears right after the subject tourists and so it is a finite verb. Now look at the fourth sentence. I promised to lend her some of my books. Look closely at this sentence. There are 2 verbs in this sentence. One is promised and the next is to lend. And the subject in this sentence is I. Remember, a finite verb appears right after the subject in the sentence. Before a finite verb, there will be a subject. Now look at the verb promised in this sentence. It appears right after the subject I. So it is a finite verb. But there is no subject before the verb to lend. There is only another verb. So the verb to lend is a non-finite verb. In the second sentence also there are 2 verbs like and to paint. The subject in this sentence is I. And the verb that immediately follows the subject is a finite verb. So in this sentence, the verb like is finite and the verb to paint is non-finite because before this verb there is no subject. Look at the third sentence very carefully. After walking for nearly 3 hours, the tourists felt tired. So the verbs in this sentence are walking and felt. But what is the subject? Remember, a subject is someone who does the action in a sentence. After walking for nearly 3 hours, the tourists felt tired. Who walked for nearly 3 hours? The tourists. So the action of walking is done by the tourists. Who felt tired? The tourists. So the subject in this sentence is tourists. And the finite verb in this sentence is felt because it appears right after the subject. But before the verb walking, there is no subject. So what type of verb is it? It is a non-finite verb. Easy, right? I have some questions for you here. You have to identify the finite and non-finite verbs in these sentences. Pause the screen, think about what the answers would be, and then resume the video for answers. To identify the finite and non-finite verbs, first we have to find out the verb in the sentence. A verb is an action word. Look at the first sentence. She promised to lend me a book. The verbs in this sentence are promised and to lend. Now, let's find out whether these are finite or non-finite verbs by thinking about the rules we learned just now. Look at the first verb, promised. Before this verb, there is a subject, she. So this verb promised has appeared right after the subject in this sentence. It has also changed its form from promised to promised to show that this sentence is in the past tense. So this is a finite verb. But the verb to lend does not show the tense, and it also does not appear right after a subject. It has appeared after another verb. So it is a non-finite verb. Number 2. My brother and I loved flying kites when we were little. There are 3 verbs in this sentence. Loved, flying, and were. Children, here were is a helping verb. So we must be careful to identify these verbs also. Mostly helping verbs will be finite verbs. Do you remember what the helping verbs are? Shall we quickly revise it once? Repeat after me. The helping verbs are am, is, was, are, were, will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, must, do, did, done, have, has, had. Let's repeat it one more time. Am, is, was, are, were, will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, must, do, did, done, have, has, had. Very good. Repeating this often would help you memorize it and keep it in your memory. Now look at the sentence. My brother and I loved flying kites. Now who loved flying kites? My brother and I. So the subject in this sentence is my brother and I. And the verb loved appears right after the subject, my brother and I. So it is a finite verb. But the verb flying does not appear after a subject. So it is a non-finite verb. And the verb were appears after the subject we. So it is a finite verb. Look at the third sentence. I like to paint. The verbs in this sentence are like and to paint. The subject in this sentence is I. So like is the finite verb and to paint is a non-finite verb. Children, any verb, any base form of the verb that appears after the word to will be a non-finite verb. Like to paint, to sing, to play, to walk. All these are non-finite verbs. Opening the window, Suman looked down. There is no subject before the verb opening. It is a non-finite verb. Suman looked down. So who did the action of looking down? It is Suman. And the subject Suman appears right before the verb looked. It has also changed its form from look to looked to show that this sentence is in the past tense. So this is a finite verb. Sending the child home is not a solution to the problem. Again, in this sentence, sending is a non-finite verb and yes is a finite verb. Non-finite verbs, the improper verbs, the lazy verbs which doesn't follow the rules, are further divided into 3 types: the infinitive, gerund and participle. Let's learn about these one by one. First, the infinitive. The form of an infinitive verb is to plus base form of the verb. Example, to play, to sing, to walk, to run, to dance, to study. Any verb that appears after the word to is a non-finite verb. They won't show tense, they won't change to agree with the subject, and they will not appear right after a subject. And these are very easy to identify because their form is to plus verb. Look at the first example. She tried to help me. The infinitive verb is to help. I tried to take a lot of photographs at the tour. The infinitive verb is to take. He encouraged me to sing. And here the infinitive is to sing. Easy, right? So non-finite verbs are divided into three types: infinitive, gerund, and participle. And the second type is gerund. Children, we already learnt that the subject of any sentence should only be a noun or a pronoun. Do you remember? The subject should only be a noun or a pronoun. But look at this sentence. Swimming is a very good exercise. What is the subject in this sentence? What is this sentence about? It is about swimming, right? So the subject in this sentence is swimming. But I told you that the subject should only be a noun or a pronoun, but here the subject is a verb. So here what has happened is the verb swimming is acting like a noun. The verb is acting like a noun and it is appearing as a subject. So verbs like this, verbs ending in ing, which acts as a noun in a sentence, are called gerunds. Gerunds are also called verbal nouns. So remember children, when a verb ending in ing acts as a noun in a sentence, it is called gerund. And gerunds also will not appear after a subject, they will not show tense, and they will not change according to the subject. And gerunds also appear as object in a sentence. Objects appear after the verb and answer the question what and to whom. Look at this example. We like jogging. Now we have to put the question what or to whom to the verb. We like what? We like jogging. So jogging is the object. Gerunds appear as subject or as object in a sentence. Listen to this example. I like my mom. I like whom? My mother. So my mother is the object. I gave a gift. I gave what? The answer is a gift. A gift is the object. So gerunds are verbal nouns which act as, instead of acting as like a verb, they act as a subject or as an object in a sentence. And the third type is participle. Children, do you remember what a participle is? We have memorized present tense, past participle. Verb 3. Sing, sang, sung. Sung is the participle. Run, ran, run. Run is the participle. Bring, brought, brought. Brought is the participle. Verb 3. We learnt about this in our class on tenses. And then there is also present participle. Present participle is nothing but verb plus ing. Singing. Sing plus ing. Singing, present participle. Playing, present participle. So, when the past and present participle forms of verb act like adjectives, or when they act like adverbs in a sentence, instead of acting like a verb in a sentence, then they are called participles. They are non-finite verbs. Let me explain to you with an example. Falling rocks had blocked the road. This sentence is in past perfect. How do we know? With the help of the verbs had and blocked. Had blocked. So this sentence is in the past perfect. But look at the present participle falling. It doesn't show the tense in the sentence. It doesn't appear after a subject in the sentence. So here it is not acting like a verb, but it acts as an adjective describing rock. It appears before the noun rocks and describes it. It gives us some more information about the noun rock. And any word that describes and gives more information about a noun is an adjective. So here the present participle falling, instead of acting like a verb, acts as an adjective. And so it is a non-finite verb. It is a participle. Look at the second example. Your shirt looks crumpled. We understand that this sentence is in the simple present because of the verb looks present in the sentence. The verb looks helps us understand the tense of the sentence. It also appears right after the subject your shirt. But look at the verb 3 or past participle crumpled here. It does not show the tense. It does not appear after the subject. It is a non-finite verb. And what does it do? It describes or gives some more information about the noun shirt. So it is an adjective. So when a past or present participle verb acts as adjectives, then we call them participles. They are also non-finite verbs. Now many of us would confuse between gerund and participle because gerunds are also verbs ending in ing and participles, especially the present participle, also ends in ing. So how to differentiate? It all depends on how it functions in the sentence. It is very simple, children. If a verb ending in ing acts as a acts as a subject or object in a sentence, it is a gerund. If a verb ending in ing acts as an adjective or adverb in a sentence, it is a participle. Is it clear now? I have some questions for you here. Pause the screen, think about what the answers would be, and then play the video to know the answer. You have to identify the gerunds and participles in these sentences. To identify whether a verb is a non-finite verb is a gerund or participle, first we have to identify the non-finite verb. Look at the first question. She gave a piece of cake to the crying child. The non-finite verb in this sentence is crying. Now we have to find out whether this verb is a gerund or a participle. What are gerunds? When a non-finite verb ending in ing acts as a acts as a subject, or when it acts as an object in a sentence, it is a gerund. But when a verb ending in ing acts as an adjective or adverb, then it is a participle. Crying child. Here the non-finite verb crying describes the child. So here it functions as an adjective. So this is a participle. The purring cat snuggled up to Ella. So here also the non-finite verb purring describes the noun cat. It is an adjective. So it is a participle. The frantically waving lady turned out to be my aunt. Again in this sentence, the non-finite verb waving is a participle because it appears right before the noun lady and adds some more information about her action. Look at the fourth one. The library is meant for reading. So here The non-finite verb is reading, but does it describe or give any more information about a noun? No. Instead, the non-finite verb reading has appeared as the object in this sentence. How do I find out? I put the question to whom or what. The library is meant for what? The answer is reading. So, when a verb ending in ing functions as an object in a sentence, it is a gerund. He needs good nurturing. He needs what? Nurturing. Again, the verb, non-finite verb nurturing has appeared as a gerund in this sentence. Singing for the school choir is a matter of pride to him. The non-finite verb in this sentence is singing, and it has appeared as a subject in this sentence. When a verb ending in ing, when a verbal noun acts as a subject, then it is a gerund. We have come to the end of the class. I hope this class was useful to you. I'll meet you all in the next class. Until then, remember this. I love you all.